The cold winter wind howled through the city streets, carrying with it the faint scent of roasted chestnuts and the echo of hurried footsteps. Beneath the shimmering glow of Christmas lights, a man stood across the street, staring at a luxury boutique. Its glass doors gleamed, the golden lettering above reading, "Morrison & Co.'s the finest fashion in New York." Inside, mannequins dressed in silken gowns and tailored suits stood under warm spotlights. Outside, that man, a poor single father named Daniel Hayes, pulled his worn jacket closer to his chest, his calloused hands gripping the small hand of his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Her eyes sparkled with innocence as they landed on a pink dress in the window display, a dress she'd dreamed of wearing for Christmas. Daniel's heart clenched. It cost more than he earned in a month. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of compassion to change lives, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness of Americans. Your support helps us spread stories that warm hearts across the world. Daniel wasn't always poor. Years ago, he worked at a small construction firm and earned enough to live modestly with his wife and little girl. But tragedy has a cruel way of rewriting lives. One rainy night, his wife Emily never came home. An accident took her life on the highway, leaving Daniel to raise Lily alone. Bills piled up, and the weight of grief crushed his spirit. He lost his job, his home, and eventually his confidence. Yet through it all, Lily's laughter was the one thing that kept him alive. Every morning she'd hug him and whisper, "You're my hero, Daddy." Those words alone gave him the strength to fight another day. That December evening, Daniel had been walking Lily home from school when she stopped outside the luxury store and pressed her tiny palms against the glass. "It's so pretty, Daddy," she said softly. Her eyes shone like little stars, not with greed, but with a child's simple dream, to feel special for just one night. Daniel's heart ached. He had promised himself that one day he'd make her dreams come true, no matter how impossible they seemed. Today, he decided to try. He hesitated before stepping inside. His shoes were soaked, his jacket frayed at the seams, and his unshaven face carried the exhaustion of sleepless nights. The moment he entered, the warm air hit him, along with something colder, judgment. The elegant shoppers paused, glancing over their shoulders. Perfume lingered in the air, but so did disdain. A young saleswoman behind the counter frowned as she noticed the dirt on his boots. "Sir, can I help you?" she asked, her tone laced with doubt. Daniel swallowed hard and nodded toward the pink dress. "I just want to know how much that one costs," he said quietly. She barely hid her smirk as she looked him up and down. "That's from our holiday exclusive line," she said, her voice sweet but sharp. "It's $1,200. Daniel's throat tightened. That number felt like a mountain. Around him, whispers began to stir, laughter muffled behind manicured hands. "He's probably lost," one man muttered. "Or looking for a donation box," a woman whispered, her diamond earrings catching the light. Daniel felt the sting of humiliation, but he didn't move. His daughter was still looking up at the dress, her smile pure, untouched by the cruelty around them. "It's beautiful," Lily whispered, clutching his sleeve. "It's okay, sweetie," he said softly. "Daddy was just curious." He turned to leave, but before he could reach the door, a deep voice echoed through the store. "Daniel Hayes." The crowd fell silent. The saleswoman froze. Everyone turned toward the back, where a tall man in a navy blue suit was walking toward them. His silver hair was neatly combed, his eyes sharp yet kind. The store owner, Richard Morrison, had just stepped out of his office. Daniel stopped in disbelief. He hadn't heard that voice in over 15 years. Richard smiled warmly. "I can't believe it's you." "Daniel Hayes from Jefferson High." The two men had once been classmates, back when Daniel was a star athlete, and Richard, the quiet kid who admired him. Daniel blinked, unsure how to respond. The onlookers shifted awkwardly, realizing something had changed in the air. Richard stepped closer and placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. "You probably don't remember, but you once stood up for me," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "When those bullies made fun of my old shoes, you gave me your spare pair. You said, 'No one deserves to be laughed at for being poor.' I never forgot that. The store was silent now. Every whisper, every judgment evaporated in an instant. Daniel's eyes glistened with emotion. I didn't think you'd even remember me, he murmured. Richard smiled faintly. I remember every kindness that saved me when I had nothing. He looked down at Lily and crouched beside her. And who's this beautiful young lady? Lily shyly smiled. I'm Lily. Well, Lily, Richard said, glancing toward the display window, I think you'd look wonderful in that pink dress. The saleswoman's face turned pale as Richard motioned toward her. Wrap that dress up, he said firmly, and add a matching coat and shoes. Daniel shook his head quickly. Please, Richard, I can't accept that. But Richard raised a hand. You once gave me dignity when no one else would. Let me return a little of that gift. He turned to his staff, his tone stern. And I don't ever want to see anyone in my store treated like that again. Kindness is our first luxury. The room fell into humble silence. Tears rolled down Daniel's face as Lily tried on the dress. She twirled in front of the mirror, her laughter echoing through the store like a melody of hope. For the first time in years, Daniel didn't feel invisible. He felt seen, not as a poor man, but as a father who had done his best in the face of pain. Richard walked over and handed him a small envelope. This isn't charity, Daniel. I'm looking for a logistics manager at my company. Someone with heart, reliability, and integrity. You're the first person I thought of. The offer stunned him. The man who once wore his old shoes was now offering him a chance to rebuild his life. Daniel's voice cracked as he said, I don't know what to say. Richard smiled softly. Just say you'll come by tomorrow. They shook hands, and in that simple gesture, years of struggle found a moment of grace. Daniel looked around. The same people who had laughed now stood in quiet awe, their eyes wet, their pride humbled. That night, as Daniel and Lily walked home beneath the snow, she looked up and said, Daddy, did you see how kind that man was? Daniel nodded, his heart swelling with gratitude. Yes, sweetheart, he whispered, but you know what's even more beautiful? Kindness always finds its way back. He squeezed her hand, his breath visible in the icy air. But his spirit finally warm again. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. It helps us bring more true acts of kindness and humanity to the world. Subscribe to Kindness of Americans and be part of the change that reminds everyone that compassion still exists.